Good evening, folks. I'm Dan Hollifield, and welcome to Last Man Standing. This, as you may be able to glean from the scroll across the bottom, is probably the next to the last regularly scheduled Last Man Standing for a little while. I will be going back on swing shift at the factory to help train some folks for brand new quality control positions. So I'm going to be back on swing shift, which means I will be working 12-hour days and 12-hour nights, 4 days on, 4 days off, and it's going to play Mary Hob with my schedule of doing this show and being on Stupid O'Clock, being on Michaela Jade's Tidbits and Scribbles, uh, and watching a lot of everybody else's shows that I really enjoy just being in the audience of. So, due to circumstances beyond my control, uh, it's just got to happen. It won't last for very long. Should be back to normal by Thanksgiving or thereabouts. But it is what it is. I'm going to leave the scroll going for just a little while longer. Um, Rich is with us tonight, and I have sent out the invitation to Donna Carlene, and we will see if she has time or is not asleep. And there she is. So, yeah.
Hey, Donna.
And Stephanie mentioned that she would drop by for just a little while, but she has been writing. So, if she decides she's got an idea, I'm not going to complain. I want to buy more of her books too, just like everybody else out there, if you're smart.
I'm way behind. I've only got about five of her books.
I, with my Kindle, had a chance and some overtime pay.
Hey,
I have
Michaela.
managed. I have
Yeah.
managed to catch up. Hey, Michaela, I didn't expect you to be up this late, but hey, more the merrier. Let me see if I can send out another invite here. And I have so many writer friends that I am glad I have the Kindle now because I do not have shelf space for everybody's books. So don't stop writing. Just send me the link, and I will go and buy stuff. I promise. I may not be as good or timely at reviews as I would like to be, as I owe a lot of people reviews, but I have a lot of fun reading. Let me tell you. I would like to find out whether or not there are any early results to the Kindle Vella experiment that Michaela's doing. That sounds very, very, um, well, avant-garde is not the right word, but it sounds very exciting, and I'm hoping that it does work very, very well because that's a new alternative. So,
Well, she started with an excellent book on
well,
it.
yeah, she wrote it.
Of course she did, but I've already read it since I'm one of the editors.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
The inside scoop.
Yep. Yep.
Mm. Oh, I did message my publisher here this week, and the past year has been very, very eventful for them. They have been putting out stuff by brand new people, but since I'm a little bit more established than they are, than that than the new people are, um, the publisher felt like it was safe to put me on the back burner, so to speak,
Hmm.
and it, I have been promised that I'm moving to a different burner. Not
Good.
not necessarily in the front, but somewhere in the
At least
middle.
a different one.
Yeah.
The beginnings of Volume 1.
Cool.
Oh, I used to do that.
One for all 50 states, plus DC, plus all the territories.
Nifty. Yeah, I will have a book coming out in December,
Oh, good.
a sort of Cinderella story. Only instead of an evil stepmother, we have a crazy ex-wife.
I believe Rich and I can relate to that.
Well, not an ex-wife, but the crazy ex, yeah.
Yeah, I need to
The
work on my elevator pitch. I just now thought of the title for it.
oh, what gives me the most problem is trying to do blurbs.
Yeah,
I mean, how can you sum up years of work in 3 to 5 sentences?
yeah.
It's a real challenge. People that can write good blurbs are well sought after. Um,
Well, often, yeah, it's somebody else who's come up with ideas for mine. My best friend's the one that came up with the title. Well, talking between us, um, the two main characters are a waitress and a TV star, and we came up with "Waiting on a Star."
ah, that's neat. Very apropos.
Thank you. And I was describing the story for it, and she says, "That's the one that's coming out next, right?" Right.
It
Well, I
is
guess it is
now.
now.
Oh, yeah. It's funny how the schedule gets juggled if you have several things in the works at the same time, and somebody goes, "Oh, I like that idea," and it's somebody whose opinion you really trust.
hmm Well, I kind
Um,
of have a schedule. I do a Hunter's Ridge, and then a Bethan Hill, and then one of my other stories. And I hadn't decided between this story or my fantasy sci-fi, Leprechauns in Space. I love the look on Dan's face.
don't know. I'm just remembering there was a movie with that premise. It was not a particularly good one, but
Well,
Skunk
actually,
probably
yeah.
liked it.
I think one of the Leprechaun movies did happen in space.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Um, like I said, not a particularly good one, but
well, I've
um,
heard of it. I've not seen it. Actually, it was Babylon 5 who that inspired this particular story. Hey, Chris.
hey, Chris.
All right, I'm beginning to see again.
Oh, the moonshine's wearing off, huh?
I wish I had some.
Yeah. About the time I was 2 hours into sitting in the store waiting on somebody to tell me why the TV set I bought was in the wrong box. I was wishing for some too. And Michaela's
Hello,
here.
Hi,
hello.
Michaela.
Hello, darling.
No, all of those people out there who's been waiting for fall. I could say a very nasty thing, but I won't. I've had a sinus headache since it got cold.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me about
Two,
it. It was 72 degrees in the house when I got home, and I'm going, where'd
hmm
I put that heater?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
I'm
our
I'm
big
We
used
dog
to
does.
98 or somewhat here.
hmm
We turned the furnace on this morning, but 2 nights ago, about 8 o'clock, I don't remember what I was watching, but there was a bright flash on the screen, and it felt like somebody put an ice pick through my left eye.
Holy crap.
And I had teared up, and it was that way for like 2 hours, and then it quit.
I'll be damned.
And so yesterday morning, I had my usual sinus headache all day, but then 8 o'clock came, and the pain and the tearing came up again, and it happened again tonight.
Huh.
I have to close my eyes to light my cigar.
Were there aliens running around and perhaps Will Smith flashed you with the neuralizer?
There you go.
You didn't just flashy thing me again, did you?
No.
So you can only do that so often before you fry the brain.
Depending on what you're flashing, yes.
Or as Stephanie would say,
Well.
brain bleach.
There's
Yeah.
Keisha.
Hey, Keisha.
Hello.
Keisha.
Chris is sorry, not. What's that? Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Okay, so we were talking about Kindle Vella earlier.
Yes, I want to.
I'm
If you've got
looking
an
at it.
update,
I'm looking at it as a reader would look at it, and your first 3 episodes are free.
Mhm.
Now, the hiccup with episodes is they can be anywhere from 500 words to 5,000 words. Each author picks what they want for their episode. So for the free ones, I did smaller ones. They're not exactly 500 words and they're not exactly 5,000, but I did smaller increments for the free ones. Now, when they go to like episode 4, readers have to start paying for those. So I'm incrementally going to make those a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, because the other thing is, as the bigger they get, the more tokens it takes to buy them.
Yeah, but
So I don't
conversely,
want to, right?
the
But I
bigger
don't
they
wanna
get,
make
the
it-
more interest you can generate.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but I also didn't want to make it, because this is my first one, I didn't want to make it so that readers would have to have like, it's free, it's free, it's free. Oh God, it's 100 coins, you know? So I
Yeah.
wanted it to be like, okay, you get those first 3 for free. The next one, maybe I'll make it 1,200 words or 3,500 words, so that it's not all of the tokens they just bought.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because the other thing is, you can't buy just 10 tokens. You have to buy, I think it's 150, 200, or 350. There's increments. But even at the highest package you can buy, I think it's like $4. So
The
That's
price
not
of
wrong.
paperback, the price of good paperback used to be
Mm-hmm.
basically, yeah. So for the word
back
count,
in the 90s.
you're still buying a book for about $10. Yours is doing it per episode. Now here's the kicker. If someone's reading my episodes and I don't make the story good enough, they drop off, because of course there's no obligation to buy the next episode.
Right.
So in theory, it should make me a better writer. In theory, if you're not good at cliffhangers, that should make you a better writer, because you need to end on a cliffhanger to make your reader buy your next episode.
Mhm.
So this can be really, really good, and it could also fall on its face. And again, it's brand new, so not a lot of my readers are using Kindle Vella. So am I going to tap into a whole new reader group? Maybe. And maybe if
yeah.
I do, they'll jump over to my other books.
Yes, that would be very good.
Right. So here's hoping. It's a brand new thing. There's not many authors that I know personally that are doing it. There's just a handful. But the ones that are doing it so far have been really nice about, hey, here's what works for me. Here's what I'm trying. Here's what's going good.
Yeah, it's 200 tokens for $1.99, 525 for $4.99, 1,100 for $9.99, and 1,700 for $14.99.
Okay. So if the episode is 40 tokens or 30 tokens, that's not too bad.
And they give you 200 tokens for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you are a Amazon Prime member, you get so many tokens for free.
Okay, that's probably where I got my 200.
It might be. That's what I was thinking. Because a friend of mine is a Prime member, and she's like, "Did you know?" And I'm like, "No, I had no idea." But that's another thing that, like,
You okay, Don?
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll keep going. But that was another thing that we're, as authors, we're trying to figure it out, because you'd see it one way as an author and you see it another way as a reader. So I had to go back in tonight and look at it as a reader. Well, the other thing is we can set when those new episodes come out. It can be every day. It can be every hour. So I've set mine so they come out just about every 3 days. I try not to do it on holidays. I was thinking I would skip those, but then again, maybe I should do holidays. You know, yeah, like,
yeah, you might wind up thinking that you should do something special for the holiday. Maybe
right.
a little more wordage.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, so let's say episode 2 comes out, and in episode 2, she finds a kitty cat. Well, she's just found it. She hasn't named it. She hasn't taken it home, nothing. She just found it. You can ask your readers, what does she do with the kitty cat? Does she take it to the shelter? Does she keep it? If she keeps it, what does she name it? So the readers can actually help you develop your story too. Or you can give them options like, okay, she's adopting the kitty. What do we name it? You know, and here's the names that you can pick. Readers get to pick the name. So it's another way to draw them in. The other nice thing for authors is readers can give stars or crowns to each story or each episode, and the author gets bonus points for that. And by bonus points, I mean cash.
That sounds really good. Yeah.
It does. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, because I've already started my Elite Warriors the way I've done them. I can't pull those books and put them into Vela, which would be a nightmare anyway. But this whole new series, I can do that in Vela. And so if this series takes off in Vela, the other nice thing is I can pull it down from Vela and make it a paperback if I want to. So if it doesn't sell in Vela, okay, I'll just make it a paperback.
Or if it's sold well in Vela and just it's no longer making any coins.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
You know, the rebrand, yeah.
Yeah, so it feels like it's going to be better for authors. I mean, like, I'm willing to try, but like, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
Make sure it's not a writer's Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hate to call Amazon reputable, but
More than some others, maybe, but not quite.
It's got to beat the dickens out of some of the stuff that shows up on Writer Beware.
Oh God, yeah. Or the send us $2,500 and we'll make you a best-selling author.
Yeah, really.
Sure you will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it turns out the $2,500 is just the down payment on what you're winding up going to have to spend to get your Vanity Press project off the ground. And folks, remember, there's a big difference between Vanity Press and independent publishing, self-publishing. I mean, a huge difference.
And then there's small press and large press. Because my first book is with a small press. And it don't matter if you're with a small press or a big press, they will not advertise for you. Or what advertising they do is this much. So you're still advertising for yourself. You're still down in the trenches with everyone else.
Mike.
Morning, Mike, Jimmy.
Hey, Mike. Yeah. It is so weird that it's his morning.
Yeah, even the big names, you know, they had to push and stuff like that. It's not like the days of the 80s where, you know, every third commercial was Danielle Steele, and, you know, it was a different Danielle Steele now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you file up the serial numbers, you give it a fresh coat of paint, it's a whole new book.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at the authors that are now getting publicity from their publisher, not them doing it, but their publisher, they've got 80, 90, 100 books under their belt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there yet.
No.
So I'm okay with pushing my own stuff. Like, I know where I should be, where I want to be, and the reality of where I am. So, okay, I'll advertise. And I can see it too. That's the other thing with being self-published is I can see, okay, I marketed last month like crazy. And look at that, I had sales. You know, there goes that little line chart. You get sales. And then I slacked off and I didn't market. Whoop, down it goes. But
yeah,
who has
it does
time?
work.
Yeah, but that's the other hiccup. Do you pay somebody to do all that marketing for you? Or do you do it and you just split up your writing time?
That is
Yeah,
that's the
Depends on how much money's coming in.
right.
that's the tightrope you got to walk. Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you have enough money to pay somebody, or do you actually have to go, no, I don't. So I will do this myself, but I've really got to get it out there as quickly as as possibly can so I can get back to writing,
Yes.
which is
And also watching that person that you're paying to make sure that what they're promising you, they have been able to deliver for others in the past too.
this is
Well,
true.
and that's another
This
thing.
is true.
Your bang for your buck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, Jimmy.
Good morning.
But that's another thing too. Is so okay. You've paid this person to advertise for you because you don't have time. Okay, do you have time to chase them down and make sure that they did it for you?
This is true.
You know, a lot of us don't, and so that's where we fall back on our writer friends and our creative friends. Like, hey, did you use this person before?
Yep.
And if you use that person, did they do a good job? And
Mhm.
in quiet conversations, because a lot of us are professional about it, and we don't spread it all over social media, but in private conversations, you'll hear, no, that person was really good at this, or no, that person is not very good at this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Word
you gotta look
does
at
get
what markets
around.
they're pushing into too. So, you know, because they're
Yep.
pushing into. All right. So, my Where the Were book, when it is finally ready to come out to the rest of the world, it's not probably going to do as well in the markets that Michaela J's books are doing. Unless they're looking into the background for the paranormal stuff and stuff like that. But so them trying to push my stuff in the stuff that she's doing in that audience, that's going to net me buckets. Whereas doing stuff more in the sci-fi fantasy stuff, even though it's nonfiction because it's about the myths and stuff like that, it would do a little bit better. But of course, its best market would be the research people, the people that want to see, okay, where did this myth originate and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it would also be awesome for writers because that's basically what it was for me and what I'm doing is I'm going through all the research I've done for werewolves over the years and stuff like that to figure out the stuff I wanted to put into, fiction. So, I mean, it's a great resource for that. So, the writers would be the best market for it, actually.
I have been meaning to mention to you. Are you aware of a book called Werewolves by, I think the fellow's name is Montague Summers? And it is written in like 6 different languages with no translations.
Montague Summers has a couple of werewolf books. I do have them in my wish list for when I get money to pick up stuff to glance at. There's stuff by a lady, Sabine, I don't remember their last name. But those are so old, they're actually public domain, so I managed to get a couple of those free through Amazon.
Yep. I've got the one, and I've had it since the 70s. It's in hardback, and I believe I got it at a bargain basement price because it was written in 5 or 6 languages with no translations. So if
Ah.
you don't happen to be able to read French, German, Greek, Italian, and something else, I forget which, probably something very Western European, one of those countries over there who change their names every 6 months to avoid predators. Um, if you can't read more than one or two languages or just the one, the stuff that is in the language you can read is very good, but the rest of them are just funny looking ink on paper.
Yeah,
Now I can
11.17 for
puzzle
the
out.
paperback.
Yep, I can puzzle out some French and some German, but I really there's no way that I can even begin to interpret uh, Greek or Cyrillic or lots of other languages with their own special alphabet. Um, so, yeah, I'm able to judge by all of the English parts of the book that I can read and the few passages that I can puzzle out in a couple of other languages that I don't speak, but for some strange reason, I can understand a few words here or there. Um, it's weird because there are so many German and French loan words into English. If you read an awful lot, I mean, if you've got a sizable vocabulary, you can actually look at a sentence in one of those languages, and if it's not too old fashioned, you can get a general grasp of the meaning without being actually able to provide a translation word for word of what is said. You can get the gist of it, but not much more. That's the level I'm at with foreign languages. I'm sorry.
No,
Um,
that just reminded me of something that happened back in college. I took Spanish in high school, and so I was taking Spanish in college, and was kind of teacher's pet. So I was helping him one time with his test for his French class. And he says, I just, want to see if you can read these. So I'm reading down. I stop at this one and I look at him and I said, does this say what I think it says? And he says, well, what do you think it says? And I'm like, well, this word looks like lose. And of course, I recognize you. And I think that word is win. Is this saying what I think it's saying? He says, yeah. It says, when did you lose your cherry? Like, oh, yeah.
that's right. I didn't ever learn the names of fruit for that language.
It's okay. I don't know the Spanish word for cherry, so I wasn't sure of it in French, but okay.
Lord.
He was fun.
Oh yeah, yep. And you get smart Alex that make puns in three different languages sometimes. Mm.
Well, it makes me wonder how he got along. He left for some strange reason. He left Danville and back then it was DJC. It's DACC now. Um, to become an interpreter in Washington D.C. And sometimes I think of his sense of humor and go, I hope he kept that job. Um, the song from Lady Marmalade.
Yes, I know the one.
Um, my my good a good friend of mine in class had a big crush on his name was Terry, and she asked him what the one line meant,
Oh no.
and he looked at her with his soulful chocolate brown eyes. Yeah, I was in love with him too. And he didn't say it means this or it translates. He just looked at her and said, "Will you go to bed with me?" And Olga goes, "Yes, yes." He's like, "No, no, 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 no. That's what it means."
That's what it translates to, yes.
I have a story, but I got to shut my door. Hang on.
Oh boy.
Is it going to be a good one?
The privacy
Well-
curtain has been drawn.
Well, it's because I have teenagers, and of course, when you tell a story about a teenager, that embarrasses the hell out of them. And that's not what I mean to do. So, my youngest one is 15. She'll be driving in May. So, she's got her permit. Most of her friends are right about that age. She was talking to, and honest to God, talking to this kid via Snapchat that she had met at an NRA gun shoot for kids. So, all the kids there were 18 or under. No big deal. Well, he seemed like a good kid. They were having a good time talking. They had lots of stuff in common. But that's all it was. It was talking back and forth. And he would say things like, well, I'm going to be at this place, at this car show, or at this fair, because it was summertime, so this festival or this fair or whatever. You could meet me there, And she would, hey, Mom, can we go? And sometimes we would meet up. But it was never like he sought her out or he said, hey, how about I come over? Or you could come over to my place or any of that, right? But not all that weird because they're 15. Like, they're awkward anyway. So we didn't think much of it. Well, then this goes on for a while. And one night she comes out of her room and she's just bawling. Like, oh, shit, what happened? And she's like, I got friend zoned. Well, honey, technically, you weren't really dating. It's hard to date when your parents drive you everywhere. But I get it. It sucks. And so via Snapchat, I guess. I've not used Snapchat, so I don't know. But I guess you can Snapchat with a group. Well, within this group, she met several other people that were friends and go to school with him. One of the boys' names is JJ. And JJ reaches out and he's like, what happened? And she's like, dude, he friend zoned me. Like, he told me, quote unquote, I don't want to call us boyfriend, girlfriend in case you find somebody special. And it's not you, it's me, sort of thing. But those were his exact words. I want you to be able to find somebody special, and I don't want to hold you back because we're having trouble meeting up, because we can't drive yet. Which sounds like a logical thing. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, this boy found somebody. This boy found somebody that he goes to school with, or it's easier to get together. But I didn't say anything. And then a couple days later, she's still kind of wallowing in self-pity. And I was like, honey, I hate to say this, but he goes to public school. You're homeschooled. It's probably just a matter of there's somebody in his class that he likes. And at least he was not a jerk and, tried to date both of you.
Yeah. On the surface, it's a respectable thing to do.
Right.
But the surface
and they're still talking.
is the surface.
They're just friend zone. And so I was like, well, okay, that sucks. It's my little girl, sucks.
Yeah.
So she starts talking to like the whole group. And one of the kids said something to her about, well, hey, homecoming's coming up. Would you go with me? Okay, sure. He's like, well, just as friends, we don't, would you go with me? Sure, okay. So she starts talking to this kid called JJ. And she's talked to him before, but nothing like straight on, like just in the group and whatnot. And of course, then she starts talking a little bit more about JJ and a little bit more. And it's like, okay. And she says, Mom, JJ wants to know if he can come over. Like, are you sure? That's fine, because we're here. And I said, what are you guys going to do? I said, we live in a little bitty town. Like, there's nothing to do. And he says, well, I told him that I like to read, and he said that would be okay, that he could just bring a book and we'll sit and read together.
Oh.
What? Is this guy a unicorn? Okay. So I'm like, sure, that's fine. He can come over and you
Either peeping or is lying.
So then they're talking back and forth via Snapchat before he comes over. I've never seen the kid stand up like I've seen the kid like you and I are seeing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid comes over and he's like 6'11". Like he's fucking huge. I'm 5'1", dude. Like he's a big dude.
Ah, it's as tall as me. Okay.
So then we top it off. So they're talking about going to homecoming,
Mhm.
and he says, "Well, I'll leave the ball in your court, but I just want to know if you want to go to the football game before homecoming with me." He says, "But the other kids will be there," and they've been kind of harassing her via Snapchat because they're like, "How dare you go out with AJ when you were actually Mason's girlfriend?" And she's like, "Well, hold up, wait a minute. Mason dumped me. Like, it's Snapchat, so she doesn't have anything to stand on as far as look here at the text."
Mhm.
But she's like, no, he dumped me. So there's controversy and kid stuff going on. And this
Yeah.
kid says to her new friend says to her, "Well, we don't have to go, first of all, but if we go and anything starts, I'll protect you." Oh my God. Like, where did you find this unicorn?
Yeah. No.
So
Really?
then, top it off, come to find out, kid is not only tall, he's built like a brick shit house, and he's a wrestler for the school. I'm like, well, if anybody's gonna protect her, it's gonna be him. And
Fair
then
enough.
I've heard him tell her on the video chats that they do. I've heard him tell her, "You're so pretty and you're beautiful," but it's never disrespectful. It's just honest to God, he thinks she's beautiful. So tonight we go to the local store. Hey, Steph.
Good morning.
We go to the local store and they happen to be there, him and his mom. And she says, "I'm gonna go say hi. I'll meet you wherever you're at. We'll meet up later." I said, "No, that's fine, whatever." Well, it just so happened we met up in the aisles of Walmart. This kid's mom is fucking amazing. And this kid, as soon as they meet, Lexi, my daughter, is like 5 foot. This kid is 6'2". Huge. Shoulders, like a linebacker. She goes up to hug him and it looks like she's hugging his belly. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
This is not the green room.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's cute and all, but perhaps not. But he's just the sweetest fucking kid. And I think we were talking about it, and he's got 6 sisters. He's the baby of the family.
Ooh.
Yeah. This boy knows how to treat a woman.
Yep.
Like, he's been told once or twice. Like, okay, all right, you can hang out with this guy. Okay.
Okay, yeah, he's been taught how to treat a woman just how I was taught by my older brothers how to think like a man.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic. And then I found out his parents also foster kids. So it runs the gamut, And then, so we're standing there chatting, and his mom's holding this little baby. And I'm thinking, is this another foster kid? And then she says, "This is my niece," or "This is my grandkid." It's his niece. So one of his sisters is old enough to have kids and be married and all that. And the little baby was fussing a little bit. And mom hands the baby off to JJ. And JJ
Aw.
just takes the baby and is just rocking the baby like nothing. We walk away. Our meeting is done. We walk away. And my daughter looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God, he's good with kids." I'm like, shut up. Shut up. No.
You're
No.
15. No.
Shut up.
There is a life to experience first.
Oh, believe me, if you've been raised in a large family,
You just know.
you
Yeah.
do learn
Yeah.
Yeah.
all the basics of
Oh, heck
taking
yeah.
care of younger siblings, cousins.
nephews.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can say this from experience. It's there's an entire different dynamic growing up that way
Yeah.
than growing up in a very small family in a very isolated area where you don't have that kind of experience.
Oh heck yeah.
Um, now, as a dad, I was going, this guy's either too good to be true or he's a keeper.
Linda and I have been
Let's
calling him.
let's roll the dice.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, God, this is so good. I pray that he doesn't break her heart, because if he does, I know where he lives.
Yes, and if you were a single mother, you'd be going, does he have an older brother?
Pretty much, yeah. What's his dad look like? But the other
you
thing,
don't-
he's done things like on Facebook and Snapchat. Oh, Facebook, he added me and my husband as friends on Facebook.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, okay. This is
Okay,
weird.
so he's above board. He's
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he also posted, because he just asked her to go to homecoming. Like, this is hey, this is happening this weekend. This was like Wednesday when he asked her. He's like, I know it's short notice. Can you go? Do you want to go? She said yes. We filled out the paperwork because she's not from that school district, so we have to fill out all kinds of paperwork. And he sent it. He took it into school the next day and bought the tickets to go. And he took a picture of him and put him on Facebook. And it said, going to homecoming with somebody special. Like, oh my God, that's so freaking cute.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
If he
But
ain't on the up and up, your shotgun's going to see a lot of use.
I know.
Well, the good news is with him that height and you your height, just any straightforward jab and
Yep. That's all it's gonna take. Yes.
get him down on the ground, and then you can just start kicking the hell out of him.
Yeah.
You heard it from the tall guy, and the other tall guy is nodding.
A good headbutt, yeah.
Confirmed.
That's all it takes.
But I do disagree with Dan. You don't have to necessarily be a large family. My brothers were 11 and 9 years older than I.
Yeah.
My oldest niece, I was only 8 years old when she was born. By the time I graduated high school, I had 7 nieces and nephews. Guess who did a lot of babysitting?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
And my mother put her foot down. She says, she can babysit, but you got to pay her.
Yeah. Well, because it can get ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even like Lexi working out at the stable, she loves it. Absolutely loves it. And she also loves the fact that she brings in the dough.
Yeah.
Like that her bank account's getting bigger. And she loves it. But there's times where I'm like, it's a school day. I need you home by 1 o'clock. Like, I know you're working on the fence and all, but you're almost done with the whole day. Like, you still have to do your homework. And she's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. Because don't get to go on a project and forget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my parents would make me babysit my sister's kids for free.
Yeah.
Until I graduated high school. After I graduated high school, then I could actually negotiate prices. Because then I had a real job.
Yeah.
So, real job, Wendy's.
Right. But as
You
a
had a
kid,
job.
that's a real job.
Yeah.
Something I actually had to show up to and
At certain
be
times.
on time for. And
And
such.
taxes were taken out of your check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There goes the check.
Hey, these things happen. And just to clarify, I'm from a big family
Yeah.
on my mother's side. I mean, I grew up with felt like a couple of thousand cousins, but it was probably about 25 or 30.
My kids ask how many cousins they have, and we just laugh.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I figure I'm related to half the state of Tennessee and several other states I've never been to. We've got distant cousins in, but no, the immediate family, 4 or 5 kids each was not
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was
unusual.
common. Yeah.
That's like my dad's.
We had
family.
Cousins who were 10, 15 years older than us come and stay during the summer to not babysit, but look out for us while my parents were both working. And then I had younger cousins that whenever we were visiting, I would be assigned to look after. Had I've got 4 cousins on my dad's side of the family. We we got run out of the house so the aunts and uncles could cook.
Ah,
It
yes.
it was I don't remember what holiday it was, but it was bigger than the normal Sunday dinner. So it was a nice warm day. We went outside, found a shady spot where we could just sit down. They were tired out from climbing trees and whatever. I mean, they're 10, 15 years younger than me. So I started reciting The Hobbit to them.
Oh, there you go.
They saw the movie
Oh.
later on, many years later on, and they remembered me telling them the story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I that's one of my fondest memories is that I introduced them to a world they never knew existed and probably didn't read the books because very rural area might not have had them in the library, but then again, they might have. And then the movies come out. They like movies. They went to see the movies, and they go, "Dan told us this."
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking the 70s Rankin and Bass, or are you talking many years later with the
Many years later, the live
Peter
action, yeah.
Jackson?
Hmm. They probably would have seen the Rankin Bass, but not made the connection. But the Peter Jackson, they made the connection. They mentioned it. So
That was our favorite Thanksgiving tradition. The Rankin and Bass,
Oh yeah.
Hobbit, and Lord of the Rings would be on TV. I think CBS.
That's familiar, Rankin and Bass. What was that?
That
Oh,
was the
Yes, my lord. So they also did a lot of
a cartoon production
Christmas
company
specials.
that did lots of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, the old
Frosty
Rudolph
the
and
Snowman.
Frosty.
Hmm.
Oh,
The
that's
year there
fine
wasn't
because
a
I bought
Santa
that
Claus.
because yeah, I loved those and I couldn't find them and they weren't playing them on our regular TV
Hmm.
anymore, so I bought the DVDs.
Rankin and Bass also, I think, did the animation for Last Unicorn.
I don't have that one.
Could
I need
be,
that
could
one.
be.
I
I
have
never found.
One
I
of my
never
favorite
found.
opening songs. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I never found the Rankin Bass. They weren't. None of the characters were my vision of those characters.
agreed.
Yes, yes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
However, what they did do was keep at least the Hobbit to the story that was in the book.
Agreed.
Yep.
I was
Very, very,
disappointed.
very close.
I liked what Peter Jackson did with the Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
I did not like what he did with some of the extended version of the Lord of the Rings, and I did not like what he did with the Hobbit.
No. No.
And
It,
when it comes to the animated, call me perverse, but I'd throw in the Ralph Bakshi. Uh, was it Two Towers?
No, it was actually the first 2 books smashed together.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they called it Return of the King, but it was actually the first 2 books, Return of the King and Two Towers. Uh, Now I would throw that in there, but it's a whole different thing
Yes.
from the Rankin Bass animation.
Mhm.
And
Is that the one where
I kept
rotos-
going, where's the rest of
animation
it?
and part out? Is that called rotoscoping?
rotoscoping, yes.
That was a cool effect. I like that.
It was a really cool
It was-
movie. It was not the Lord of the Rings.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I kept going, where's the rest of it?
Uh huh.
So, fun.
And
fun fact.
that was practice for wizards, which was
Yes.
not connected to anything else. It was its
Yeah.
own story.
And it was good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
I love the spell at the end.
They
It's been a
killed
long
Um,
time
Fritz.
since I've seen it. Yeah.
a little fun fact: um, the guys that did The Hobbit also did the third book animated of the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Because Bakshi didn't want to finish, or that he was too expensive, either or.
Yeah.
And so they turned it into a musical.
They did.
It is
A lot of
so
recognize
damn
for
good.
musicals.
Well, the music was in there to start with, but I mean, seriously, Tolkien wrote the lyrics,
The Land Before
the
Time.
Yeah,
poetry. I mean, that's the part. That's the part for a lot of readers where they go, okay, here's the plain text.
yeah,
On with the story, and skip the poetry.
yeah.
But
Um,
that's neither here nor there. It was part of the style of the epic things that he was building the story from.
yeah,
So there was that kind of mythology that was supposed to be sung around a campfire, basically storytelling.
yes.
And one of the guys in the annual staff actually managed to pull off getting The Road Goes Ever On included in one of the yearbooks and was really pushing to try and get Arundel was a mariner in another yearbook, but the English teacher who was in charge of the yearbook staff goes, no, no, no. You got to remember, these are high school kids. They're not going to get that. So that one got nixed, but Road Goes Ever On did wind up making the cut for that year. Oh man, um, yeah, that's where you learn what epic actually is when you get to something like that, or Titus Grown, or oh, help me out here. There's several things that are multiple books that are so involved
Yeah,
and interconnected and intertwined that they feel like they should have been opera or well, seriously, opera actually describes what it is I'm trying to get at, but it it's the very definition of epic. They're larger than life. They're so interconnected, so intertwined, and they're so well woven together that you can't just you don't get everything out of it by reading one book of the series.
Yeah,
You really want to, you crave getting the rest of the story.
yes.
that's kind of how Bella works. You got to make them crave it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And crave is one of those things that's really hard to engender in somebody. You've got to be good. Yes, yes, Chris, you're absolutely right. Tell Gary Ed. That was Terry Pratchett,
David
wasn't it?
Eddings.
Oh,
David
Um,
Eddings.
David Eddings.
yeah, the Bromeliad history project.
Bromeliad. That's yes, yes.
Kidding,
Thank
right?
you. The words were so similar I could not differentiate, but you're exactly right. And for this once, I don't mind being wrong.
Both are good.
Yeah. Uh, I'm not even embarrassed to be corrected. That's how grateful I am that somebody got it right, and it's not a comment 6 weeks from now from a viewer. Oh
Damn
yeah.
it, why did you? How
No,
did
you
you?
got it wrong. Well, yeah, I'm me. I get things wrong all the time. I've
Yeah.
learned
No
to live
kidding.
with it.
Last I checked, we were human. Well, some of us.
Exactly.
Some of us.
Well,
No
Speak,
comment.
speak for yourself, Kimasabi.
All I can say is that I have prominent teeth. I have a decided liking for the night shift when I was working shuttle missions. I have very, very pale skin, and my colleagues were extremely relieved to see me snarfing on a garlic bagel. I'm not joking.
I know.
I can believe it. Yeah.
Oh, I've got coworkers that are just overjoyed to see me actually tired and out of breath because they think I'm some kind of a machine that can't be stopped at
Yeah.
work, and I'm just going, no, you're not watching.
Yeah.
no.
I'm using karate on this stuff. I'm not actually working. I'm letting the weight of it do the work.
Yeah.
Work
Smarter, not
smart,
harder.
not hard.
And I'm old. I learned how to do this stuff.
That's Andy at work. For a while, he was working so much overtime in the morning and overtime in the evening that when his guys on his shift and the next shift would get there, the truck is there. When they leave, the truck is there. And then one day he took the car. They're like, well, they were sitting at the lunch table and somebody said something about, hey, that big white truck finally moved. And they're like, you mean Andy's truck? And they're all like, oh, that's Andy's truck? They thought he freaking lived there.
Yeah.
Well, it sometimes feels that way. Like
Yep.
you go to bed and you're like, he's not home yet. He's headed this way. Okay.
We've
Call me
got
when
people
he's
at work, I swear, they would work 7 days a week for
Mhm.
months on end.
He did when they said, hey, we're shutting everything down and going to Canada. But if you work till the end and when we close and lock the doors, we'll give you a bonus. He was like, well, okay, I'll do that. And then they never went to Canada. They decided that was a bad idea. Whatever.
He got paid
Yeah,
and
he got
paid
the bonus.
well.
Yeah, he got the bonus. He got the promotions and stuff, and it's just been a uphill thing from there, in a good way. Like he's been climbing ever since. So it's worked out wonderfully. There was just that stretch where he was working, eat, sleep, work, and that was it. Like the kids were like, "Where's Dad? At work. Where's Dad? Going to work. Where's Dad? Coming home from work." That's what Dad does. Dad
Yep.
doesn't have
Yeah,
hobbies.
who's the man who cuts the meat on Sunday? That is a
Yeah.
Dutch saying
Yeah.
for a workaholic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It was, and then you get to the end of the year and you go to do your taxes and you're like, where the hell did all that money go?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've got kids. I forgot.
Yeah. Oh, there it went. Never mind.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that was the year that sat us back in our chairs. We were like, damn, we've got to get this shit together because, whoo, them kids are expensive.
mhm.
Yeah.
But only have to do it for a couple of decades before they're ready to get
Right.
out on their own, unsupervised, because you're a parent and you expect them to do right.
I was
Right.
gonna say if you do it right, they will.
Yeah.
Then there's kids like me that don't move out until you sell the house.
Then there's
That's what I
kids
told
like
my
me that
son.
are there waiting on the new owners.
Yep. That's what I
No,
told my
no,
son. I said,
seriously.
listen, I know you're living with Aunt Jo and Uncle Mark, which is like my mom and dad. I said, but when they get to the point where they need constant care, you need an apartment. Like, I'm not saying anything now to him, even though he's like this failure to launch kid. But it's one of those, okay, so he's there if God forbid there should be an ambulance run or something, or a, hey, we need help. Because they're both elderly and they live in the middle of nowhere. And you can't see the house from the road. So even if they were to call an ambulance, the ambulance may not get there quickly. So with him living there, it's like, you're good for now. But I promise, if you don't find your own place and live on your own like an adult, I'll make you do such a thing. And he's just like, I don't know if she's serious or not.
Well,
I am
she's serious.
Wow.
Yeah. And the thing that kills me is he's so super smart. He's super dumb. Like, how do you have an IQ of like 190 something and you're stupid? How is that possible?
Because
I'm
common
exaggerating,
sense.
obviously, but
trust
It's
me,
common sense.
it's keeping up. Okay,
yes, it's common sense. Well, what really killed me was when we were getting mad at him. He had come back from college, and I think he was home for like Christmas and Thanksgiving and all that. And we were like, "What makes you think that like we're supposed to wipe your butt and you're supposed to just live here until you're dead?" And he's like, "Well, you're my parents. You're supposed to take care of me." Only until you're 18. You do realize when you turn 18, you are now a man. Legally, you are a man. Like if you get pulled over and taken to jail, I can't rescue you. I can't say I'm his mommy, let him out of jail. Like it doesn't work that way. No, that's what the schools have taught them is that no, you're my parents, you're supposed to. What? No. By the time I was his age, I had a kid and had a full-time job and I went to school full-time. Like it can be done. Nope. We can do one thing at a time.
The school system did a number on my middle child. My middle child has special needs, but she's actually a fairly bright kid when she wants to be. Active words, when she wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
But the school system kept going, well, since you're special needs, you don't have to be able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how badly she did, they passed her. And I want her high school special ed teacher fired and never hired to another school system ever again.
Yeah.
Giving a special needs kid a condom saying, no, you don't have to listen to your parents about, abstaining until you find the right person. Go ahead and go out and use it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was bad here, and that's why I pulled the two younger kids. I was like, I'm done. Because when you go in and you talk to the administration and they're just like, oh, kids will be kids, it's no big deal. I'm like, it's a big deal when my kid doesn't want to get out of bed and go to school and he's a straight A student. It's a big deal. And then y'all preach to those kids, if you have a problem, come to me and I will take care of it. And the problem is not taken care of. It is swept under the rug because he's not one of the cool kids. Like, yeah, no, I'm done. And then it started happening with the girls. And it was all stupid, petty stuff. And I was like, nope. We're done. We are done. So now they learn stuff, actually. Not how to take a test, but they learn stuff.
Yeah, the elementary teacher found out the hard way that I don't play.
Good.
Crow, my youngest, was coming home several days in a row, splitting headache. I've had migraines since I was 5. My wife is an epileptic. We immediately go, okay, let's go through the neurological checklist and everything. Come to find out, so this is back, 7 years ago. So, right around January, February, we had a really bad, y'all aren't too far from us. I'm in Northwest Indiana. So the snow that year was so bad that we could lose the child in the backyard. They were the tallest kid in their class.
Damn.
So everything started to thaw, so the kids could finally go outside and start playing at recess again. But of course, they've got the hoods. So if something happens behind you, your first reaction is to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you're just staring into the side of a hood because the hood doesn't turn with you.
Right.
I guess someone was walking up behind them, punching them in the back of the head, and then melting into the crowd by the time they could turn around. So I found out about this, and I was driving. So I was screaming in the phone. I was De Niro in in Capone. I want the kid dead. I want his family dead. I want the bitch he's going to take to the prom dead. I'm going to buy him a goldfish, then I'm going to kill it.
Yeah.
I was calmer by the time I finally got home. So I sent the school an email saying, okay, I can't verify this because I wasn't there. This is what my child's reported. You folks are there. I'm going to tell you, you need to take care of this because if not, I am going to teach my child how to break an arm. Kid can't swing it at my kid if it's in a cast.
Well,
The next day, they hired 5 more recess monitors because they didn't have enough recess monitors.
yeah, that's another thing I was told is we can't be everywhere at once.
I'm like, fine. You won't teach. You won't have someone out there to make sure someone is not attacking my kid. I will teach my kid the nuclear response.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then again, I also taught my kid how to use a sword at a very young age.
Yeah.
My child
mom-
had longer reach than Nick at 6.
My
Nick
mom,
at 33, her at 6. Then at 6.
my mom told my teachers when I was getting bullied, is a broom handle a weapon to you guys? To which they said no. To which my mom said, good, because there's always one on the playground, and my son knows how to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, and that's the thing. It's like you try to do everything that you're supposed to do. You follow the rules. You go in. You have a meeting.
Yeah.
You try to be civil, and they're like, no, you shouldn't worry about that. We'll take care of it. Or, no, it's nothing to worry about. Really?
Yes.
My self-defense tool.
Are a very good tool as well. I broke a couple of jaws with those.
I've broken nose with this particular one. My mother-in-law, who bought this for me, was almost in tears when she found out why yo-yos. She was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe!" I'm like, "You guys buy me pocket knives and put it in my stocking that I could actually end a life with. You're crying because I can innocuously carry something to protect myself with,
Yeah.
and this is nice, solid metal.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite Christmas gifts ever."
Yeah. Well, I was always the tallest kid in the class since first grade. And so I was never bullied, but I took care of the smaller kids when they got bullied. And I never had to do anything. I just had to stand in front of the kid and say, take me on.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of them, that's the thing. They bully until somebody pushes back.
Mhm.
But these days in school, they're told don't push back. Like if you push back, you're going to get a detention.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're defending themselves and they get the detention.
Yeah,
And that's
because
where,
the bullies don't ever get punished.
right. No, never.
It's always the kid that gets bullied that's at fault. You must have done something.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Well, and if I asked my oldest one time, I said, why don't you fight back? Why don't you throw a punch one time? That's all it's going to take. Break some kid's nose or at least bloody it, and the rest of them will shut the hell up. And he says, well, if I do that, then I get in trouble for fighting. Then I get written up. If I get written up, I get zeros on my papers for the next 3 days. I'm like, you're a straight A student. It's not going to bother you. I promise. And he's like, I can't get zeros on my papers. I can't. I'm like, yeah, you can. I did lots of times. I still graduated. Like, come on.
Well, have you seen that video with the little girl talking about if Johnny hits me? I love that.
I have not,
We'll
apparently.
both be in timeout. We'll both have black eyes. Yes.
But Johnny will learn to keep his hands to himself.
Ooh, I like
rather
it.
than if she does what she's supposed to do and just report it.
Yeah, I love that. Just report it. Just tell us what's going on.
Oh, yeah, just report it, and then the next time it's worse because you reported them.
Right. Then you get you get beat up because you reported the dang thing.
Are all teachers nowadays from California or what?
Apparently.
I
Well,
think so.
honestly, so here's another thing. In Peoria, very close to where I live, it's a bigger town, it's a city. I asked one time because I worked with a lot of people in the inner city, and I said, what is the deal with some of these bus drivers and teachers not telling the students that's disrespectful, sit your ass down in your desk and do your work? They can't. So one of the biggest things was fights were breaking out on the bus routes. And I said, our bus driver would have got up with the broom that they kept in there and beat the crap out of us, or at least threatened to, until we sat our asses down and behaved ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're not allowed to even speak threateningly to the kids. If they do, they lose their jobs. If a fight breaks out and they break it up, they've touched the student. So as soon as they touch the student, they lose their job. Like, really? Because we would have been grabbed by the scruff of the neck and pulled apart.
And that is a lot of the blame for that is to be put on my generation. They wanted to be friends with their kids instead of
Yes.
parents.
Yes.
And they would sue the school because you punished little Johnny and you shouldn't have, so I'm suing you. And that's what's led to all this crap.
Oh, heck yeah. My biological mother is one of those. Like, she would look for any little excuse to call somebody out, or I'm going to sue you, or, and it's like, really? Looking back on it, I'm like, that was so stupid. The way she acted was just ridiculous.
Around here, it goes back to, I'm never going to spank my child.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going, okay, then you deserve what you're going to wind up getting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you don't start in infancy, you're going to wind up with a kid that's always getting their fingers burned on the stove, always doing things that are tremendously dangerous, and you're just going to stand there.
The fastest way that a human being learns.
You're really,
just we can't use it because it's assault.
Yeah.
I never got any time spanked, whatever, by my parents. But they were parents. They did, punish, send me to my room, made me clean up, made me do chores, and gave me consequences.
Right. That's the thing that's missing, is that
you don't have to hit a kid, but dear Lord, you need to hear the consequences.
Yeah.
You don't have to go back to the 40s and 50s sort of child rearing, but you do have to have
consequences.
This is wrong. Here is the consequences.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. I had a nephew who would go up and double his fist up and just hit his mom. And he was strong for a little kid. And she'd go, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." Well, then he made the mistake of hitting my mom one day.
Oh.
Yeah. And
who helped him find his teeth?
after he picked himself up off the floor, he looked at my aunt, my mom's sister. And he doubled his fist up, and she's like, "No, I also hit back." And then he looked at me. And I said, "Grammy raised me." And you could see the little wheels going round and round. I don't think he even hit his mom after that.
Good.
It's basic physics. Actions have consequences. There's a reaction for every action.
Well, and that's, as writers, we know that every story, there's it just goes that way. Like, you can't live without consequences to your actions. Every action's got a reaction. Like, it just is the way the world works. And these kids these days are just like, "Oh, that's not fair." Well, no shit, that's how it works.
Yeah, life ain't
If it were fair, it would be called fair, not life.
Right.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Nobody ever promised you it would be fair.
Yeah.
They promised you that you would survive if you behaved.
Yeah. No
I
kidding.
have, in my side job, I got a couple of interns that were born right around the 2000s.
Oh.
Yeah.
The whole mentality, and I'm seeing these people my age as well, and I'm only like 8, 9 years older. You know, it's, yeah, well, there's not going to be any consequences if I don't show up to my job.
Yeah.
There's not going to be, there's going to be another job, or, I'll get the money anyway, and I'll just get something else.
Yeah.
And it's like, take some bloody responsibility for yourself.
I
Really?
think that's part of where they lost it is they don't have pride. They don't have.
No. Yeah, let me get my own.
Get off.
Look out, he's got a hammer.
No.
And
Mine's
that's part of where, when I
Mine's
was
crossword.
growing up, I even had kids that, like my own cousin, he would get disciplined and even spanked, and he would look at my dad and say, didn't hurt. It didn't hurt. And then he'd go running down the road to grandma's house because he knew grandma would save him. And grandma would come down and yell at dad, why'd you spank Mikey? Because he popped off at the mouth with shit he shouldn't have said.
Because he earned
He
it.
got popped in the butt. It wasn't a beating, it was a spanking. And then he got lippy and I told him to go home. Well, she didn't have a leg to stand on then. She was like, well, you were a bad kid. You got swatted. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there is that gap of like, wait, there's no consequences. And I just told my
Yeah.
mom to F off. Okay, cool.
My mother was a different grandmother. Her grandkids were expected to follow the rules, just like her kids.
Mhm.
And if they didn't, they got disciplined. Well, like I say, my first niece came along when I was 8. I married Carl on my 31st birthday. I was not prepared. I was not prepared for the way my mother-in-law treated her only grandchild at the time.
Really?
Yeah. She was allowed to sit at the table with us and play Trivia Pursuit with us. She was 5 years old.
Was she like a genius?
No,
Oh.
no, she could. I'm sorry. I was reading reading children's books by the time I was 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She was 5 when we got married. We were sitting in a restaurant, and my mother-in-law's like, "Oh, listen to her read," and she was having her read off the little paper placemats.
Yeah.
Only she was prompting her, and I'm sitting back there thinking, she's 5 years old and she can't read any better than that.
Holy cow.
I mean, she's not a stupid person. I mean, she's got 2 degrees, one in business and one in teaching.
Oh Lord.
But it's just her. My mother-in-law let her do anything she wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and she would. Mama Flo was over one time, and she did something that she knew she wasn't supposed to do. And so I called her on it. And I told her to stop being bad. Well, Flo started up with that bullshit about, oh, there's no such thing as a bad child. And I said, now, wait a minute.
God.
I did not call her a bad child. I said she was being bad. And when she knows she's not supposed to do something and she does something, that is being bad. And she is going to get punished for it if she doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm. As it should be.
Yeah, and we were fortunate that her mother had the same ideas that we had when it came to kids. So the 3 of us agreed on when she should be punished, how she should be punished, and stuff like that. Fortunately, she was a very good child. Carl could look at her and go, that's disappointing. And she'd like, okay, and behave herself.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Psychological
when
warfare is very effective with the right children.
one of the
Well, yeah, especially when your father's a psychologist too.
Mm-hmm.
one of the things.
But that was back when they first started bringing the ketchup and mustard pumps at like Hardee's and such.
Okay.
I
Mm.
had her believing that it was illegal for her to use those because she wasn't tall enough to use those. And we were sitting in Hardee's one day, and
So
these parents,
naturally, she found a footstool.
no, no, s-
Oh,
um, these parents let their little boy you pump his own ketchup,
Oh
and she
no.
looked at me and said, "He's lucky the ketchup police aren't here, isn't he?" And I said, "You're right."
The ketchup police.
Of course, I also told her how to ask for stuff from her dad. That was back when Hardee's had those little Sundays with like M&Ms and stuff on them,
Yeah.
and she was wanting one. And I told her, "This is how you ask for them. You lean your head up and you look at your dad and go, 'Daddy, can I have a sundae?'"
oh yeah.
Start them young, Donna. Start
And we
'em
both
young.
got a sundae that day.
I bet.
Well, you got to
So
admit there are a few men that can resist Donna looking up at him and go, "Can I have a Sunday?"
Well, yeah, we joke now that when Isaac was growing up, he was only, good God, he was just talking and putting sentences together. The sentences he was putting together were things like, please may I, thank you, sir, thank you, ma'am. People were like, how'd you get him to do that? I'm like,
you teach him.
first of all, he pops out not knowing anything. We taught him, and we don't accept anything less.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing I think they miss, because you can teach them anything,
Mm-hmm.
but what do you accept? You know, and a
Yeah.
lot of these parents these days accept good enough. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
One of the
About
things
5
that
minutes
really-
after I learned how to speak, I was like, okay, then the wolfman and the vampire come and do. So my sisters, who are 4 and 9 years older than I am, were afraid to sleep in their own room, so they slept in the room with the 3-year-old telling the vampire story.
Well, yeah, because it's better in groups. There is safety in numbers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
think it
gives
was
you
so that
somebody you
something
can
came
throw
at
at
them,
the
they can throw.
monster.
Exactly.
Yes, you are bait, sir.
One of the things I really
I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun
Outrun
you.
Yes.
one of the things that I really notice with people my age and younger is that a lot of them don't learn to appreciate things they don't like doing. They don't value the suck.
Yeah.
When I was 8 years old, my dad took me along working, which I volunteered. He was like, "Hey, you want to come along and shovel some dirt? You know, he's a favor. That's his weekend job, and through the week he teaches it."
Mm-hmm.
So here I am, an 8-year-old kid shoveling dirt into wheelbarrows, and he was walking them off. After a while, I noticed if you pack them real nicely, your dad is going to groan when he picks it up, which is the best thing, but he can't complain because it means the work is done quicker.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, being raised on a farm.
Things you don't like doing.
Yeah. I had things I had to do, and I wasn't. I did not know what an allowance was until I was an adult, and I'm like,
Yeah, see, I didn't either.
your parents paid you to do
Yeah,
that?
they paid you? What?
Oh,
Yeah,
Shit,
I
they
got
spent
room and
my
board. I
money
got
to pay
fed.
bills. Like,
you
that's
you're
not how that
you're
works.
reminding me of a story that I tell at the factory to the other folks there. It's like Donna. I grew up on a farm. Work was what you did.
Mhm.
You had chores.
Mm-hmm.
I was driving a tractor probably, well, I had to stand up and pull on the steering wheel so I could get the clutch and the brakes. I was, and
And if you
I
hit a
was
bump, those are
probably I
gone.
was probably about 9 or
Mhm.
thereabouts, and
About
not
average.
particularly tall at the time. Get to the factory. I mean, this is 15, 20 years after the farm, or farm for 15 or 20 years. Then uh, 3 years of college and not living away from home, going from college to the farm, getting on the tractor and doing my chores after class. Then working in the factory and having my own place to live is a symbolic coming of age sort of thing. I'll get there and I go, wait a minute, I only have to work 12 hours a day
Yeah,
and I get days off
And sick
yeah.
days.
Yeah.
and I get paid.
Oh, have you seen
What
some
is
of these
this
places?
vacation thing of which you speak?
Right. Right.
Exactly.
If
For us,
if
it's just
you're used to
it's not
if
a number.
you're used to working on the farm, you don't think anything of an 18-hour day, and
No.
you don't worry about you're going to get a paycheck. No, no, Mama's going to cook supper. You're going to
That's
learn
the
how to
big part.
grow food.
Yeah.
You're going to have to learn how to do carpentry. You're going to have to learn how to do plumbing. You're going to have to learn how to do welding and all this other stuff that are some of these things are really vital life skills that you don't even think are going to be useful later on, but they turn out to be,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
especially if
hell
you
yeah.
ever buy your own house. Plumbing
Mhm.
comes in handy if you buy your own house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so does
But
simple electrical wiring, as long as it's not something that you have to look up how to do.
Now
mhm.
that's the difference too, again, between farm kids and town kids.
Yep.
The first time we had some toilet problems, I'm like, okay, Carl, we need to do this. And he says, no, we call somebody.
Mhm.
Call somebody?
You can do that.
Somebody else is going to come into our house and fix this?
We're going to
And
let
he's like,
strangers in our house?
Well,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's weird because for me, I found a man that knows how to do that stuff. But I grew up in a really poor family where I had to learn it because dad was too damn drunk to get it done. Like,
mm-hmm,
so I learned it from whoever would teach me. Luckily, my uncle stepped in. But yeah, I had to learn all kinds of stuff, like how to change the oil in a car, how to change a tire, how to do whatever. I rebuilt a
mm-hmm,
motor for God's sakes. But I learned it because I had to. It wasn't because I wanted to necessarily, but I learned it and I learned it really quick.
yeah. Well, when
And
we, yeah,
my daughters, in fact, just yesterday, one of them posted something about I want to give a shout out to my dad for teaching me how to be a man, even though I'm his daughter.
mm-hmm,
And he put beneath that, he said, no, 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 honey. I'm teaching you how to do these things so you don't have to depend on a man. I'm like, well, yeah, because I know how to do all that stuff. I just don't have to. I married a man.
mm-hmm,
There's always an out, isn't there?
yeah.
Yeah, there is.
All
Well,
right.
that's like when we
Yes.
go car shopping. I was in the top 10 of my ag
I can
mechanics
see
class.
Carl car shopping. Oh my God.
I know, right? With
His
John.
idea of car shopping is to see if he doesn't bump his head getting into the car.
Well, yeah, that's a serious consideration, but there's a little bit more to it than that.
Not a whole lot.
No, we went out to. They had all the car dealers in town took their stuff out to the airport one year and lined
Yes.
them all up, and we needed to get another car. So Carl starts at the beginning of the line, gets in the car, gets out, and finally finds one where he doesn't hit his head. And the salesman had been kind of hanging around, but he was letting us do our own thing. then he saw that we were interested in this one car. And Carl says, "We'll take this one." The guy says, "Do you want to look under the hood or take it for a drive?" And Carl's like, "Well, I guess I could take it for a drive." And I'm like, "Lift the hood, let me see."
Pop the hood.
Kick the
And
tire.
and I'm looking at all this. Back then, I could do that. I can't do it so much today with all the computer things, but
Oh my God, no.
Well,
yeah.
you can check for obvious leaks and
Right.
whatnot.
Well, back when we were
I mean, that's
buying
about all
used
that's
cars.
left now that everything is computer operated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but this was a very smart salesman, because we went back to his dealership when we needed another used car, and he waited until Carl found one that he could get in without bumping his head, and then he turned to me and says, "You want to see what's under the hood?" And I said, "Yep, let's see."
Mm-hmm.
And I think we got like 4 or 5 cars from him,
Yeah.
and he knew which one was going to be checking. I
I,
had a
when one
I
of
had
when,
a car salesman one time back when I was single, and I took my fiance with me because I know back in the 70s, car salesmen are not going to talk to a woman. Certainly not going to talk to a girl. I was all of like 19 or 20. And I found this car that I liked, and he's talking about, "Oh, it's got air conditioning." And I'm like, "Mm-hmm. How's the heater work?" "Well, it's got air conditioning," because this was summer. This sucker thought I wasn't going to turn on the heater. I get in the car and turn it up. Oh, yeah, the motor sounds good. The motor looks good. Get in, start it up, turn on that heater, and the blue smoke starts coming up. And I kind of look at him and said, "Didn't want me to turn that on, did you?"
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like, yeah. And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go to another car dealership." And he didn't make a sale that day.
Yep.
my husband and I, this has been some years ago, back when I had the day job, and he was just getting settled. We moved to Huntsville expressly for me to work in the military and space industries. So at that point in time, I had the principal job,
Mm-hmm.
and he was still working his way into a position, because he had the job when I was in graduate school up in Nashville. So he had to wind up that job and then move down and get a position here.
Right.
Um, so at that point in time, I had the higher income. So we go to a dealership, buy a car, and the dealer is just selling Daryl, and it's going to be a car that I'm going to drive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's just selling Daryl big time on this car, and he's barely even saying word one to me. And he puts me in the passenger seat, and he shows me that there's a lipstick mirror behind the visor and all this kind of stuff. And he puts Daryl in a passenger seat and all this kind of stuff. And then we decided we liked the car. So we sat down to actually start talking finances. And so he asked Daryl how much he makes, and Daryl told him. And then he said, and my wife works also. And so he turned to me and asked me how much I made, and I told him. And you could just see him just whip,
Uh-huh.
because he realized he'd been pitching to the
Whoops.
exact wrong person
Person.
in
Mhm.
the pair. And he says, "Excuse me a minute while I go get my manager." And he went back, and the manager came out, and he never came back out the whole time. The manager finished the deal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. I just screwed this up big time. Would you go save it for me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yep.
much.
That's ridiculous. Well, that's
Because he could tell by the look on my face, I
oh
was kind of,
yeah.
you know,
I'd have been livid.
I was very, very quiet until he asked my income, and then I very, my annual salary, and then I very, very clearly enunciated what my annual salary was,
Mhm.
and he just went,
That's the moment where he pisses himself.
Mhm.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, he just turned into piss and ran down.
Yeah. Yep.
He just bolted, you know.
Yeah. You're gone now.
Yeah.
It sucks because for me it's not been financial, but I go to a dealership and I want to look at a car, and they do that whole, oh well honey, look at all the cup holders it's got, look at the lipstick mirror, like
Mhm.
what's it got under the hood?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And they're
Yeah.
like, well, it's good, it runs just fine. What's it got under the hood?
Mhm.
Or when you tell them that you're looking for a very specific Camaro, and they're like, Chevy doesn't make that. I'm like, but they do, dumbass. If you'd have done your research, you know that they make those. They only made 352 of them, but they do make them. And then they're like, yeah, maybe you should back up a second.
Yeah.
So then I called somebody else. I was like, no, nah, we're good. And of course, I'm looking for classic car dealers, so they're not close to home. So it's one of those, when I find it, I'm gonna have to drive. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same. You go in person, you call on the phone. Hell, you could go get an oil change, and they're like, "Honey, your serpentine belt needs replaced." Really? Okay.
Well, I guess I'll have to do that
Mm-hmm.
myself,
Yeah. And they're
just
like, "Well,
like
then
I
why'd you
did
bring them
2
here
weeks
first?"
ago.
Yeah. I had one guy say, "Well, if you can do all this, why'd you bring it here for an oil change?" I said, "Because it's snowing outside. I don't know about you, but I don't like rolling around in the snow underneath my car."
Because
My
my
reason
tire
is
has wants to
because
spend.
y'all can dispose of the oil and I can't without getting a permit.
Well, do you have an AutoZone by you? An AutoZone or an advanced auto?
Both, they're right across the street from each other.
Okay. You can take it and they have a canister in their back room you can dump it in.
No, I just go to one of the
Right.
quick change oil change places and go,
Right.
okay, yep, make sure you change the filter. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes, do check the rear windshield wiper. You don't usually have it in stock.
Yeah.
And don't check my tire pressure. Every time y'all check my tire pressure, I have to go home and pump them back up because the
Yep.
lights come on the dash.
Yep.
Mhm.
32 pounds of air pressure is not what
Yeah.
this car requires. It's got
Yeah.
18-inch wheels.
Yeah.
I've been pretty lucky with the oil change places. I just go in and I I think I impressed them the first time when I said I want this oil and this, and uh, this is the air filter you need because I'm pretty sure it's going to need changed too. And they're like, okay,
Yeah. Like you sound like you know
this
what
this
you're talking
this
about.
this
Yeah.
gal knows what she's talking about. So, and I can sit back and watch some blonde bimbo come in. I need my oil change, and they sell her this whole big stuff that she probably doesn't need, and I'm thinking, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Well, hell,
My, my
there's one place near us where my husband took it in. Again, it's cold. I don't want to lay in the driveway and change my oil, when it's
hmm
almost the same price for them to do it as for me to buy the shit and do it myself. So Andy took the car in, and the kid comes out and he goes, whoever changed your oil last stripped the drain plug, so we had to put a new one in, so you'll have to pay for that. And he said, go get the drain plug. And the kid was like, oh, we threw it away. Go get it out of the trash can and bring it to me. I want to see it. And the kid was like,
hmm
So he brings him one. And sure enough, the threads are stripped. And Andy says, bring me the drain plug that was in my car. It's got a yellow dot on it that I put on it last time. And the kid was like, oh, shit. So he went and got the one with a yellow dot on it. And sure enough, it's not stripped. So then Andy's talking to his dad. And his dad says, I can't take my truck to that place anymore because every time I do, they tell me the drain plug has been stripped. Andy's like, you got to be kidding me.
Mm.
No, every time I go, they tell me I need a new drain plug and they charge me for it. Like, okay. So Andy took his dad's truck in. Same thing. Drain plug. Like, no, it's not. Go get the drain plug that you pulled out of there. Like, Jesus. But that's easy to do. It's something they're touching. You're not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
They can toss it and say, oh, your other one was bad. And most people believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I got to cut loose.
I'm thinking that too, yeah.
So y'all take it easy,
Okay.
and I'll see you around.
Good seeing you.
Thank you for being here.
Yep, I got a kiddo. I got to get off to work at 6 a.m, so I should probably go too. So I'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Good seeing you.
Yep.
Looking like be safe.
My
There were 3.
my second wife went to the oil change place that I was used to taking her to because I was at work. And she drives in and she goes, I need to get this special kind of oil. It's right here in the manual, and it goes, I want you to fill it with WD-40. She spoke very Cajun. Things were sideways.
Mm-hmm.
So those of us that knew her could understand what she was getting at. It wasn't entirely normal, regular, but it was one of those things where she knew exactly what she was trying to say, and we knew what she was trying to say. There just needed to be some translation in there. She wasn't stupid. She was in a bad car wreck as a teenager, and after being thrown through a windshield, part of her brain did not advance much beyond being 14 years old. Otherwise, she could memorize an entire grocery store's inventory, what shelves it was on, what position on what shelves, and I do mean top, bottom, middle, aisle,
Mm-hmm.
13 or 15 or 1, could tell you everything.
Aisle 12, 12 feet down, top shelf, middle.
Mm-hmm. Next to the blue cans.
Yeah. I'm not quite that good, but I have the little lists of what we buy and what aisle it's in, and I keep it updated. And has Carl told you the story about the 2 men at the store?
Not sure.
It was during the plague when we were all shut in. He told me I had to stay home, and he'd do the shopping. I'm like, okay. So I make out the list, and I did it like I used to do it for myself. Start at the back one, and I aisle 16, aisle 14, whatever aisle it's in, and there were 2 men standing there and trying to figure out where something was. Do you know where this is? And he walks by and he says, okay, she says this one's in aisle 8, so I guess that's where I'll go. And I guess he got some very nasty looks. But yeah. I mean, why should I stop making the list out the way I always did? So make it easier for him. I'm a woman who does not like to shop. I do not go up and down every aisle. I want to go right to where what I want is and get the hell out of there.
Woman right after Misty's own heart.
Yep. What can I say? Like I said, I think like a man. But yeah, he never minded shopping with me because no, I don't need to go down that aisle. We need to go this aisle and get stuff and get out of there.
That's why I hate going to a new grocery store or go to a grocery store that I'm used to, but in a different city. Because they're not always laid out the same.
Mm-hmm. That's the nice thing about Meyer. If you have their app, you can change your store in there, and it'll tell you where stuff is.
I think Walmart will do that too. Because I know when I've looked stuff up online, trying to figure out what store I want to go to, I'll see stuff in like Walmart. It's like aisle O32 or something like that.
It comes in very handy. I like that.
Yeah, the only thing is they don't want to, which one's aisle O?
uh, and being in IT, when he had to go, we belong to their rewards program. If you don't have the app, which has the little barcode, you have to put in your PIN number, your phone number, and your PIN number. And so he's like, "Well, what's the PIN number?" I said, "It's 1234." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "This isn't something I need to be secure about."
This is not
Oh,
a bank
no.
account.
Oh no,
Yeah.
somebody's got us 10 more points. They've got us
Yeah.
$5 closer to the $3 off the $100 order.
Exactly. I said,
Mhm.
if somebody uses this, we're going to get rewarded for it. So what if they might get something off the day they use it? We're still going to get rewarded for it. I don't care if it's not secure.
Now, one
And
thing that Lindsay's come to appreciate is that stores we go to all the time, I will purposely stalk every aisle, and I will index the entire store in my head.
mm-hmm.
And she goes, "I need such and such, but we never get that. So where would that be?" And I go, um, I think it's 3 aisles this way and up across the walkway and over there on the shelf on the left-hand side. I think it's in the middle of the row. And we go,
Mm-hmm.
and I might be a couple of feet off, but yeah, I got us in the general location where we can see it from there.
I actually have to
But
bring these in the store now to do that.
mm,
I used to just leave them in the car.
what I
Uh,
hate is when corporate decides, "Oh, you need to rearrange the entire store," and I go, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
groceries are over here. No, groceries used to be over here. Now that's tires." Um,
yeah, our Walmart's going through a refab at the moment.
I think every Walmart is, 'cause ours is too.
Um, the other two that are close enough for me to go to currently aren't. But the one that's closest to us is, uh, as is our Taco Bell, which I'm surprised because that Taco Bell just got redone like 5 years ago. But then again, it's not my money. And then again, they also do have, each district has so much money for uh, rebuilds and stuff like that, that if they don't use, they're not going to get it next year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's idiots that are driving, things. But the thing is, if you know you're not going to need that extra $50,000, why budget it into that? Because that can go into another program inside the company to do something good for something else. But then again, the hell do I know?
That's our money. We need that for reasons.
Yeah.
And no, my pockets aren't bulging for any particular reason. No.
I'm only a lowly IT teacher.
Mhm.
I only deal with logic and public speaking on a daily basis. One
I
of these days,
often
I will
find
learn how to
myself.
speak in public.
I often find myself in the position of Rodney Dangerfield in Back to School, going,
Doing the
well,
double
that's
Lindy.
not the way life actually works. If you don't take into account um, the graft of local
Mm-hmm.
politicians and what you're going to have to pay the mafia bosses for unofficial insurance
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Um,
We had an arcade that got shut down when I was a kid and it was called the Pirates Cove. It was right around the corner from where my mom worked. So I would go up, visit my mom, ask for money to go to the arcade, stop at the bank next door, turn all that cash into quarters, and then go around the corner to the arcade. That got closed down because they were not paying the mafia.
mhm.
I can believe it. No, when Carl first started working for the ORS, he was a counselor, and he only had a bachelor's degree. He we'd been married about 2, maybe 3 years, and the state says, okay, counselors have to have a master's degree. You don't have to get one, but if you want to get one, we'll pay for it. All you have to do is pay for the books. And being
Yeah, well,
smart,
that's a major expense right there.
yeah, being smart, my husband says, okay, I'm going back for my master's. And he was in one class, and the professor was talking about this procedure, and he's like, oh no, we don't do that anymore. We do it this way. And it was that way the whole semester.
Mm.
He was correcting, no, we don't do that anymore. We do it this way. And the very last thing they were supposed to do was to work under somebody in an office to follow, see how it is, have them, what's the word, proctor them or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess who did that for other students in our area? Carl. His professor was like, I don't have anybody for you to proctor under. So he decided, he says, okay, come in once a week, tell me what you've done for that week, and that's all, that's how we'll handle this. And that's what they did. And he got his master's degree. And there were a couple of counselors who didn't do that, and they were knocked down to executive. What do they call secretaries these days? Executives.
Executive
Executive assistant.
assistant.
Yeah, except he still got the counselor's pay, which didn't sit well with the secretaries in the office.
Hmm. I run into things at work where someone will come up with a bright idea that there's a famous phrase that comes to mind. It looks good on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always somebody like me. It's not always me. Usually it isn't me because I keep my mouth shut. But there's always somebody like me that's been around for a long time, and they are a little bit more outspoken than I am, and they will hesitate not at all to say, "Yeah, that didn't work the last 35 times we tried it," or we did that about 5 years ago, and um,
It
there was
didn't
a
work.
problem. Um, it, because of the way we do things here, it didn't work, and this is why, and this is what you're overlooking, and that did not go over really well. Thankfully, um, the people that are outspoken and understand what does actually work have no connection whatsoever with management except that they sign our checks.
Mm-hmm.
And the accountants that run the company, um, looks good on paper. Yeah, it does. But reality is that's a thing that a lot of people that work in an office environment have very limited understanding of. Reality is. In an
Mm-hmm.
ideal world, your proposal would be fantastic. But
But
I cannot violate the laws of physics, Captain.
Funny
yeah.
thing, people will tell my manager, okay, we need to add this into the curriculum for new hires. I'm like, all right, so how much extra time are we getting to teach this? None. Oh, okay. What are we taking out? Nothing. You realize that doesn't work, right? We're not taking one of these, plugging it into somebody, hitting a download button, go, you're trained. It doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my
Mm-hmm.
manager gets mad at me all the time because I am very vociferous. It's I don't mean this to sound sexist. Um, she's a woman in IT that's been in IT for a while, but hasn't learned IT. So she's had to
Ah.
deal with all the boys' club antics of early IT stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She's very overprotective of the females on the team, which is everybody but me. Um, and she fucking admitted it to me that she doesn't take care of me as much because I'm a man. Anyways, sorry, I digress. So, to go back for a second. So, but I've been with the firm for nearly 20 years. She joined about 5 years ago. And she'll start talking about something. I'm like, well, okay, historically. And she's like, I don't want to know. I'm like, I'm not telling you it's not going to work. I'm telling you, these are the roadblocks that we've had in the past. What do you want to do to mitigate those so that your attempt is more successful? And she doesn't understand. I'm not saying, no, I'm not going to. I'm saying, here's what we've experienced in the past. How are we going to get around that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But she, and I fully understand. She's a woman in IT. She feels the need to make her mark. She needs to make sure that they understand there's a new sheriff in town and they need to take her seriously. I'm fully behind that. But I also know that there are still partners in the firm that aren't going to go for what she wants. And I've, and she's worked in legal IT the majority of the time that she's been in IT and education. So she should understand the power level of the partners of the firm saying no, because it's literally their money.
Right.
It's not like an associate that they work for the firm. Partners are part owner of the firm, hence partner. But I'm like, I'm all for trying it, but just in case it doesn't work, what's our backup?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm being negative because I'm saying no. I'm not saying no. I'm saying this is what's happened. How do we get around it? How do we make it successful this time?
The thing is, when you point out reality to someone who has a dream, it is not very well received often.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get surprised and they will listen. Sometimes, not always. But when it actually blows up in somebody's face, it's really hard not to stand there and go, "I told you so."
But
It's
as a
really,
father,
and it's actually counterintuitive. But no, not counterintuitive. It is counterproductive to gloat over somebody's failure
Yeah.
and just go, well, have you thought about doing this instead? It's just a wild idea that I came up with. I don't know if it'll work, but and 6 months later, when enough engineers will go, hey, we just thought of this great thing that you told them to do 6 months ago. Yes, and here's the paperwork to prove that I came up with it. No, I don't do that anymore. I just go. I'm over this coming weekend. It will go from 16 months to retirement to 15 months in a couple of weeks. So I'm just going. Look, y'all do whatever you want. I'm just here. I've been here for the long haul. I'm now here for the short haul. I'm counting down. Y'all
yeah.
do what you
Sadly,
want.
I'm
I'll do
I'm
I'll do what works.
Yeah.
I'm winning the lottery away from retirement,
Mm.
which
Aren't we
means
all?
they're going to be reanimating my corpse and having me work off the rest of my debt.
Yeah,
Um,
the only reason they'd reanimate my corpse is because my taxes are larger than my income. Oh Lord. We've gone past 2 hours and I do have to work tomorrow, so I'm really
Oh my,
sorry.
yes.
I'm okay. Saturday night, Sunday morning. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be the last man standing on a regular schedule. I do want you both here. I want Jimmy here. I want Stephanie here. Michaela, Keisha, Carl, everybody that can, because I don't know when I'm going to be able to go back to my regular schedule. It shouldn't be too long, but reality has a way of rearing its ugly head.
I know that feeling all too well.
So I'm just going to make the best of what I can while I've got it, and when I retire, being a night owl, last man standing may become more than a twice a week thing and may become more than the after show for Stupid O'Clock. It may be what I do for fun every damn night. And believe me, at my age, fun is one of those things I look forward to. And believe me, everybody should be looking forward to fun, but everybody's idea of fun is something different. Um, late night chat show, I'll, I'll be able to tell my mom, "Hey, I'm Johnny Carson now."
Yep.
Don't get
Well, you were
don't get
saying that
paid,
you
but
used
what the hell?
to jump up on the mantle between
On
takes
on
and
the hearth, yeah, on the fireplace hearth, yeah, and do a monologue and tell jokes and introduce an imaginary band and uh yeah
apparently my shtick was horror stories at 3 years old.
uh I don't know if I get a shtick, I'll be sure and polish it up. So
Don't
maybe I'll
polish your
even
shtick too hard. You might go blind.
yeah well I'm willing to take that chance
Yeah.
and somehow I know from experience I'll still get the dirty end of it. There are some things in life that you can polish till they gleam like gold, and they're still what they originally were to start
hmm
with.
Which can be polished. They proved it on Mythbusters.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you both, and thanks to Stephanie and Michaela and Mike, Jimmy, and Chris for being in the chat, and we will see as many of us as possible at Hallowcon this year. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not able to make it this year, Rich, we're counting on you for next year. You will have a great time. Um, I will do my best to guarantee it.
Yeah, with the settlement we'll be getting from Dad's estate and stuff like that, the Misty and Crow will, as long as Misty can get the time off. Crow definitely wants to come when I come down for it. But yeah, it's you'll meet the entire, well, my portion of the clan at least. Uh, Although that might be the wrong way to phrase that down there. Um,
Yeah, nah,
but
it works. It works. You might want to use family instead of
yeah,
clan, but yeah. Mere editorial suggestion.
my immediate kin.
There you go. Now you sound like Uncle Jed. Um, Someday I got to
Well,
have a long talk with that boy.
pops pops was from backwoods, up north, so it's it's just a matter of accent. It's
hmm
his was a little bit more yeah hater. Um,
Wisconsin's that way.
yep.
Call
All
us.
right. All right, folks.
Tree up the road, you turn left. The hell's a
Right,
C?
right past that church that burned down in 1935.
Right.
I know how to do directions in the that barn uh, that ain't there no more that you would never have known about because you've never driven this road before, but it's part of my landmarks. So,
hmm
all right, folks.
Hope to see y'all tonight.
In about 19 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Uh, yes, I have my alarm clock set. I will get to work in the morning. Hopefully, I won't feel too much like something that gets picked up in a little plastic bag after the dog's been in the yard, but that's a risk I'm willing to take.
Yeah, technically, I could sleep right here, and then at 7:30, just sign in right there.
I'm looking forward to days like that. Well, um, thank you very much, folks. Good night. Thank you for coming, or however you reacted.
Good night.
Night, guys.
Transmission overload. System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.